5 is Free for All, a fact on any topic you like, and we're starting with Chris S.
So my topic for Free for All is we're all living in the Matrix. The idea of the simulation hypothesis. So the simulation hypothesis is the idea that we do not in fact live in a reality, we live in a virtual reality constructed by some other higher beings that we do not have any concept of. This can be attributed back to philosophers such as Plato and Diogenes or Democritus. I cannot quite remember which one it is. People can look up many videos on the simulation hypothesis to see which one it is. But the idea of mind begets matter, or matter begets mind. So which came first in that respect? If we take the idea that atom is an atom because it is physically there, matter is matter, it's not generated from minds. Our mind was created from matter and then consciousness is spawned out of that matter. That's the Plato side of looking at, the Diogenes side of looking at the universe. If we think about that, that means that everything must have physical attributes. There's a way of defining the universe that makes sense, a set of laws, and we try and quantify that using physics, the standard model of physics. However, back in the early 20th century, there was something called the double slit experiment that was performed, which showed that a photon, single atom, when it was fired at two identical slits in a paper, would go through one or the other if it was observed, and if it wasn't observed, we couldn't detect which one it went through. To get your head around this a little bit more, what they did was to say, this light is behaving differently when we're looking at it. So what they then did was left the camera there and turned it off. And the results were...
So they turned the camera off?
They turned the camera off. They ran the experiment and they had a wave interference pattern, which is indicative of they don't know which slit it went through. So there's an equal distribution. When they were observed, when they turned the camera back on, halfway through the experiment, the photons immediately started picking and choosing which slit they went through. So because we were measuring them. So because we knew which one they went through that one. When we didn't watch and check which one they went through both. This, as you think, how do you get your head around this? Let me throw another thing into this. So what they set up was a variation of the double slit experiment nearly 80 years later, where they in fact filmed some recordings and then essentially filmed the experiment abstractly and then changed the basis of that experiment midway through. So essentially they're doing the same thing as turning the camera or observing it and then not observing it. But the point is they are observing the experiment through cameras of it not being observed, and they're receiving data showing interference pattern, historical data showing interference pattern. They run it for about a minute, showing all this. We don't know which slit it's going through. In the experiment, they then turn on the cameras and it starts immediately showing either one of the other slits, and all of the previous data on the computer had changed to showing that it was going through one of the other slits, i.e., because we started observing it, back in time, things were changed. The data that was recorded a minute earlier and through that minute changed instantaneously when the camera was switched on.
That really hurts my brain and I have no idea what's been said. But I feel scared.
So the idea is that time is not this one-way linear path. Information can go back through it and has gone back through it based on the fact that we observed something. So there's an idea that things do not exist until we observe them. The deep space photography of galaxies, we see loads of things, but there's this whole idea of there's gravity that we don't know why it's present, this dark matter explanation. The standard model of physics does not explain a huge proportion of what happens in a macro or a micro scale. And when Einstein was working on the standard model of physics, this theory of the simulation came around and he declared it spooky action. The double slit experiment, quantum mechanics can't be real. He tried to show that quantum mechanics, which proves the idea of a simulation, is wrong for the rest of his life. Bear in mind, this is the guy that wrote 4 groundbreaking papers in 1 year at the age of 24 and then spent the next 30 years trying to disprove or show that quantum mechanics can exist in a matter-first universe, and then failed to do so. One of the cleverest guys on the planet.
So is this a really complicated, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound argument?
It's very much of that ilk. So the reason that we are around and we exist is because we have been put here and we're observed. So there's a lot of different parts. To get away from the kind of concept of it, I'm going to explain some of the parts in the universe that support the idea of a simulation hypothesis, or theories, because this can all be said in other ways. So, for example, at the moment of the Big Bang, the immediate few milliseconds afterwards, or not milliseconds, it's even smaller than that, the universe was expanding far quicker than the speed of light, orders of magnitude quicker. And then suddenly the speed of light kicked in, which can't actually happen in a world where the laws are set from the moment that the universe exists. It's almost like a programmer then added that rule, or that got initialized at that point. Then you have this whole idea of time, the speed of light, being the constant. It never changes. And when you approach the speed of light, everything else in the universe gets distorted and you start to run slower than everything else, and everything else is faster. This is very similar to when in a computer you're going at your computer is lagging at a response because it's working so hard it can't actually keep up with the rest of the world. So the idea is the speed of light is there so that the computer that's running the universe never runs out of memory. There's arguments that say black holes are garbage collectors in terms of computer memory, going through the universe and taking out all the unneeded stuff as it goes through. There's a lot of reading out on the simulation hypothesis, and the reason it's coming about a lot more now is because it's been theorized for 80 years. It matches what we currently observe in the universe, and the standard model of physics still hasn't. It wasn't acknowledged 80 years ago because it sounds so ridiculous, but because we really can't find any other thing to disprove it, there's now a lot more research into it, and they're going, holy shit, look at this, we've also found this, and holy shit, look at that, we've also found that. They found code in the Fibonacci sequence in the way that plants, I can't remember that fact, so I'll drop that bit out. But yeah, the idea is that we are in a simulation. So one thing for a simulation would be something like, in a computer game, the speed of light, that was one of the points. So quantum mechanics is something called quantum entanglement, which is where two quantum entangled molecules can instantaneously communicate with each other. So, for example, say you have your favorite glass, you have it quantum entangled with an identical copy of that glass. Someone takes that glass to the other side, to wherever, on the moon. You rotate that glass, it will rotate on the moon because they're entangled together. That effect happens across any distance in the universe. There's no speed of light delay. That does not make sense because information cannot travel faster than the speed of light in the standard model of physics. In a computer game, you can instantaneously have something happen on one end of the universe and the other because they're equidistant from the computer programming them.
Surely that would mean that the rest of the universe doesn't actually exist. It's like the whole thing of where you're running a computer thing and things in the distance don't actually exist. They exist at a lower resolution.
It's the whole thing of when you're playing a computer game like Doom or COD or anything like that, when you're looking forward, everything's being rendered by your computer, but your computer does not render all the stuff you're not looking at because it would use so much RAM. So when you turn around, it starts rendering that. You can look that up. That's a fact of all first-person shooter games. And it's the same thing. The reason that, we observe something and then it goes, okay, now I'm going to make a decision about it. So with the double slit experiment, it's like, well, I don't need to know which one it went through because no one's watching. Oh shit, someone's watching. I've got to pick left or right.
That's really quite scary.
Is there any other reason why that we can theorize why it might behave in that way though?
They have been trying. So if you ever heard of something called string theory, 11 dimensions, worked on by Stephen Hawking.
I only because of Big Bang Theory.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll hear it referenced in pop culture. That's one of the things that was first worked on by Einstein and then has been tried to bring expanded upon by Stephen Hawking. And as I said, they're still struggling to find anything that fits. Yeah. They can make the standard model of physics fit by using dark matter and a few other things that I'm not 100% on, bosons and quarks and a lot of different things that I'm sure other people you can read these, watch, there's countless videos out there. Sorry to bring doom and gloom and the Matrix theory on everyone, but yeah, it's a fascinating theory that is science fiction, but is rapidly starting to gain some credence.
I think we know who might win this round.
I think it's just completely pissed on my bonfire with regards to my fact anyway, but...
Right, so I think we should just wrap up now because Christopher Stevens has just won.
No. Let's hear through the others. Cool. Next up is Laura.
No, it's not.
Yes,
I don't have a
Otherwise,
fact
I'm going to tell you
anymore.
your fact because I already know it. It's a good fact. So, yeah.
Okay, well, Superman defeated the Ku Klux Klan.
What?
Superman
true.
defeated the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh.
How did he do this?
By being amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so a bit more into the fact rather than just telling you it. So there was a young writer and activist called Stetson Kennedy. So in the post-World War II era, the Klan experienced a huge resurgence in its membership. Political influence was increasing, and so this young activist and writer decided that he was going to infiltrate the KKK to try and, find some bits out and try and stop them, get a bit ahead of them, as it were. He regularly attended meetings and he became privy to the organisation's secrets. He then went and took them to the local authorities, as you would if you found out about nastiness of bad people in the area, and they pretty much ignored him. The KKK were getting so powerful in local groups that the police genuinely didn't want to go up against them and anger them. So, what was Kennedy to do? He decided he would approach the writers of a Superman radio serial. It was perfect timing for them because World War II was over. Nazis weren't really a threat as much as they were, and the producers really needed a new villain for Superman to fight. The KKK fit that pretty well. It was a 16-episode serial titled Clan of the Fiery Cross, and the writers pitted the Man of Steel against the men in white hoods. As the storyline progressed over the episodes, the shows exposed many of the KKK's most guarded secrets. By revealing everything from codes to rituals, the program completely stripped the Klan of all of its mystique, using everything that Stetson had learned during infiltrating their meeting. Within 2 weeks of the broadcast, KKK recruitment was down to 0, and by 1948, people were showing up to Klan rallies just to mock them.
Good fact. Chris H.
Well, I decided to go with Chris's very scientific and well-informed fact. I would go with something completely the opposite. But my fact is time travel, as it is in Back to the Future, is a complete load of bollocks. It's impossible. It's never going to happen. And this has been proved by my cat.
By your cat?
By my cat.
What's your cat called?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Yeah.
This is why you said Jeffrey, right? I did wonder if it was someone I was meant to know.
Yes. This is
Cool.
this is Jeffrey the cat who lives at my flat with me and my wife, and the other cat, Colin. Colin's no scientific merit at all, but Jeffrey's very useful. He proves things all the time. Excellent for simulating the various laws of physics.
Shows is working.
Is
Yeah,
he
yeah.
related to Schrodinger's cat by any chance?
No, he does.
He is and he isn't.
So the Back to the Future. Everyone's familiar with the Back to the Future films. You've all seen it, right?
Can
First
we?
one. You've seen the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so this will make sense to you anyway.
Oh, and the third one, sorry, the one with the train.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway.
So there's the DeLorean. Awesome car. It's not an awesome car. It's a terrible piece of automotive technology. It's in every way a car could be good. It's bad, but still I have a massive soft spot for the car, just because of the films. But it appears in three forms. In the first film, they use it to get back from 1955 to the present day, which is then 1985, by harvesting the power from the lightning strike for the main clock, which then sends the charge down the wire and is picked up by a hook on the back of the DeLorean that's then doing its 88.8 miles an hour, travels back through time, crashes into a shop in 1985. I have at home 3 model DeLoreans, one from each film. DeLorean 1 has the hook on the back. Jeffrey ate the hook, and then if the science behind the other two cars should have slowly faded away, as he they didn't. It's still there.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. I love
Not even a flicker.
That's...
And actually, come to think of it, I think he might have knocked Back to the Future 2 off the mantelpiece once before and broke the top off the Mr. Fusion generator. And again, number 3 did not flicker in the slightest.
Perhaps they did change, but based on their being observed, they've always been that way now.
They are now existing because
So
you
maybe
know about
that's
them.
what it is. Maybe they
Oh,
have
you
changed.
are keeping
and
them in
your
here. When
observation of them.
you go, and everyone that's seen them go.
It's a little puff of smoke just came out of my ear just then, because that's, yeah.
I have no further understanding of your point, but I felt that it worked somehow in this way. Cool. Right, well, that was round 5. Free for all. Are we going to go with Chris S's Matrix Reloaded, Laura's Superman versus the KKK, or Chris H's Fake Time Travel with My Cat?
I'll vote first. I'm going to go for Chris H's fact, because I'm loving the fact that Jeffrey the cat contributed to the round.
I'm going to go with Laura's KKK, just because... Chris, I still don't quite understand your fact. I need to read more about it.
I don't quite understand it. Scientists don't quite understand
My
it.
brain is melting out of my ears like cheese. Chris, who are you going with?
I'm going to go for Chris H's fact because it made me laugh out loud genuinely.
That, just because I think it's fascinating and I'm going to lose hours of my life to it, I'm going to go with Chris's.
Okay, well done, everyone, for surviving that round. And congratulations to Chris H for winning that round. And the game overall.
Really?
Yeah, 3 rounds to 2.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeffrey.
All that's left is for us to thank Chris Hands,
Bye.
Chris Stevens,
Always a pleasure.
and Laura Stevens
Good riddance.
for joining me. I've been your host, Kirby Rawstorn. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.